What up, world? This is TheGoalNet recording live from Chicago. We are here today to do a deep dive on the CCM Axis glove and blocker. If you haven't done so already, please check out the other videos in this series around the graphic and also the pad, which have already been made. Come back at a later date and check out the comparison video with the eFlex 4 and the Premier 2 line. So Axis, as I talked about in the pad video, is completely new. On paper, this is technically the replacement for the CCM Premier pad, but I would actually say it's a new pad. It truly blends, in my eyes, a lot of the best features from eFlex and a lot of the best features from Premier 2 and puts them into one line that's going to appeal to a lot of goalies. So yes, it's the replacement, and in my eyes, no, it's not the replacement. It's something new. The gloves are a little bit of a different story. Yes, they are new. Yes, they have some new features in them. But CCM, if you're not aware, is the best-selling gear at retail, and it is the most popular gear in every level of pro hockey. So you've got a really tried and true winning formula, and a lot of goalies are very particular about their gloves. I've talked to some people that service pro goalies, and they actually say if you can get the goalie in your catch glove, you can almost get him in the rest of the set because gloves always feel different and unique, but it's easier to customize a blocker to feel like another blocker or to customize a set of pads to fit the goaltender's liking. So the glove is mission critical. So when you've got the number one selling glove in the 590 break, you want to improve things, you want to make things better, but you don't want to stray so far from the tree that you lose people. And that's a real challenge that the CCM team is always plagued with. They need to innovate, but they can't step too far over the line as well, because what they have works really well, or it wouldn't be as popular as it is. And after I just spent about 2 minutes pumping the tires of the 590, I'm actually a 580 guy. And for anybody that likes the 580, you'll be happy to know that it is still available on the Axis. So true story, I think probably about 8 months ago-ish, I got to see the Axis line the first time completed at CCM's offices in Montreal. And after checking out the whole line, the thing I was most surprised about, just something you can't explain, but when you pick something up for the first time, you get that initial impression. The blocker was the thing that caught my attention most. And it was just like, whoa, this feels really different. So knowing that I'm most excited out of the gloves to talk about the blocker, and most people probably want to see the glove and can probably maybe skip and not watch the blocker, we'll oblige both scenarios. We will do the glove first and the blocker second. So with the glove, this is going to be a bindingless, clean one-piece cuff design, something CCM has been doing since the Reebok Premier 3, which is probably around 2007 or 2008. So it's been around for quite a while. So it's a technology that's worked really well, and they're always tweaking materials, improving cuff durability and things like that. This is game ready. That is standard with this line. As a custom option, you can get the Pro Palm or the Practice Palm. Probably heard me say this in all my videos, but in case there's new followers or we've forgotten, always like to remind you, most pro goalies use game ready for games. So if you are a younger goalie or a beer league goalie that mostly plays games, I suggest getting a game ready glove. If you have the flexibility, if you're a elite youth goalie or something, to get two gloves, get the Practice Palm, get the game ready, or split the difference and get the pro, fully respect that. But I do think game ready really works well for a lot of goalies. And we also have the D3O. So CCM's game ready glove by design is not going to be quite as flexible as some of the offerings in the market from the other brands. And that's not a secret. And I think the CCM team would tell you with pride that their glove is still flexible, but a little bit stiffer. And why would they design a glove that way? Why wouldn't they want to make it as easy to close off the shelf? The answer is that balancing act. The softer, more flexible, and more floppy you make a glove, that means you've either removed material to make it flexible or you've used materials that are too soft and bend. Either one of those scenarios could theoretically lead to increased stingers and increased injury. So CCM really tries to walk that fine line of giving you a flexible enough glove that you're comfortable with it, but so that it still has protection. And even on top of that, you will get the D3O in this area and in this area. And if you're not familiar with D3O, it is an independent, laboratory tested third-party material that is shown to dissipate and remove impact better than other materials. So it doesn't mean that this is a perfect stinger-free glove, but it means if you've got, a couple millimeter space there to put a pad, there isn't a better material that you can stick in that area to absorb impact. So D3O is a really popular material, and I think it works really well. And again, nothing's perfect, but it is great. I went with a single T skate lace pocket. The standard glove at retail will be the more popular split, the standard double T trap, and it will have a nylon lace. And I also get +1 on my T, which is technically, I think, a non-conforming option, but being as I'm not in the NHL, doesn't really matter for me. So that's what this glove is. And then I will try and show you the game ready break real quick. And then I will show you what's completely new on this glove that is not on any other CCM glove. So this, I know, is what everybody's always most excited to see. And it's obviously the hardest to film. As you can see, I can't really strap the glove on and film very well, but as you can see, seals very well. I can close this glove. It works really, really well. Posted a video the other day of me helping my dad test out a pickleball ball shooting machine. We're trying to help him dial in the settings so that it shot like a straight, flat, hard ball. And even though maybe some of the movements were over exaggerated and some of the younger kids who have learned much better, more modern technique, which is going to happen to all of you someday for all you kids out there who had some fun chirping me in that video, I did notice just watching that glove that the 580 for me is just very organic in the sense that it just looks like it closes well and naturally with how I move. So it's one of the reasons I stick with the 580. And a pickleball, if you've never seen one, is basically a wiffle ball. And according to the settings on the machine, they were coming at 70 miles an hour. So where I'm going with this story is, even though the glove is a tad stiffer than some of the other ones, was able to catch a hard plastic ball that's literally designed to bounce off a racket with this game ready glove that's only been used on the ice 2 or 3 times. So if it ever feels a bit stiff on the shelf in the store, hopefully you understand why, and hopefully it makes sense. But let's focus on what's new now. So one of the reasons that the Axis line has a lot of features that are some E-Flex and some Premier is knowing that they were starting from scratch. They asked their huge roster of pro goalies, retail partners, goalie coaches, and tried to understand what are some things that goalies want in equipment that isn't currently being done. And some of the feedback is that in the RVH position where you're tucking your glove on the backside of the post a lot of times, people are getting more and more pucks off the back side of the hand. So CCM went with a molded piece of plastic or high density foam back here. And it's actually connected via like a neoprene, so a very stretchy material. And this is great because you get the hard plastic protection. So this is going to absorb a puck and protect your hand better than a piece of, you can see, soft foam versus this harder material. So this molded component here is going to absorb more energy and keep your hands safe. But because there is the neoprene, which is very stretchy, and then the double segmented piece there, it doesn't hinder closure. So that is one of the key upgrades, and really for me, I think what is the biggest difference. And I think probably mentioned this earlier, you've seen this in my other videos, but I am a leather strap guy, custom option. The standard strap will be the nylon strap that's been kind of a staple in the industry for many years. I'm pretty particular on how my gloves feel overall. It's just kind of a comfort thing, and then knowing that you're catching pucks or holding your stick or whatnot, and your hands are kind of floating in your stance, if you will, that having my gloves feel comfortable is just kind of integral to playing well and feeling comfortable. So I like the leather strap because I find that it doesn't slide, and it also kind of gives you a more consistent kind of repeatability. When you put the glove on, you can put it exactly the same tightness every time. And I'd love to see more innovation go into glove strapping moving forward. So next up, let's do the blocker. So what is it about this blocker that I noticed and got so excited about? It's really, really light. Trying this blocker on the first time, it was just like, holy cow, this thing's light, and I couldn't believe how much lighter it felt. And it's something that I noticed without even pulling the scale out. So pretty exciting there. And how that was accomplished, and this is something I think that will show up more when we do the comparison of Premier and eFlex and Axis, but you'll notice the board is a little bit thinned out. And this blocker, I don't necessarily have a way of validating it, but this blocker definitely has harder rebounds, if not the same as like an eFlex or Premier. It's at a minimum the same, if not harder. You know, that's some stuff we'll try and point out more as we do more reviews. And again, there are some puck marks that's totally been used. But why I bring this up is because they made it lighter without compromising performance, which is key. Generally speaking, the lighter something is, the softer the foam's used, and that can make things like rebounds not as effective. Not the case with this blocker. It is light and the rebounds are hard. And the other key feature on this is something I'm a huge fan of as well. I didn't necessarily love the one-piece cuff that's on eFlex and on Premier 2. I felt that you really had to open the cuff up so that you could still get like a tightness but good range of mobility. But CCM segmented this and put another piece of molded, this is foam. I believe the other one's plastic, or it's a really high density foam. But anyway, put a good energy absorbing material there, but also segmented this cuff. So this gives you a nice snug feel at the wrist, but then also a great range of motion for making blocker saves and playing the puck. And then, as always, you'd expect from a CCM glove, or a blocker, excuse me, you'd get the D30 inside the index finger for added padding. So I would probably be crazy to imply that I had any influence on this option, but I will say I've been asking CCM for this for years, and I'm ecstatic that it is an option. They have different tightness profiles on the glove, so I got tight fit. So similar to the leg channel strapping, you can get a loose fit or a tight fit blocker, and what that means, it is how tight the blocker feels on your hand. And I believe this is achieved by putting different layers of padding between the back of the blocker board and the front of the blocker palm. So more padding will be tight fit, less padding will be loose fit. So between the new cuff and the tight fit, the fit on this blocker is phenomenal, and it has the range of motion, which is key. Obviously, if you make something too tight or too stiff, it could restrict your range of motion. And then lastly, for custom options, this blocker would actually normally come stock with the angled finger protection. That option works better than I gave it credit for on P2, but for whatever reason, it still isn't my preference. I kind of like the straight. And unfortunately, when you go with the straight finger protection, you do get the binding. Just aesthetically, I'm not a huge fan of binding, so I do wish I could get straight finger protection with the binding, but again, this is my own fault. Next year, if I get some more CCM gear, I gotta remember to order the angled finger protection, and I could probably live with it because it's kind of nitpicking, I think, between this and the angled. I could probably live with the angled, and I'd prefer maybe the aesthetics and the wear protection of having the Gen Pro all around. So trying to keep this video under 15 minutes so that we can post it on Instagram TV in addition to YouTube. So this was quick, but between the pads and the gloves, the separate videos, we did a 30-minute deep dive on the CCM Axis line. I hope you appreciated it. If you're watching on YouTube, hate saying this, but please subscribe. Definitely helps get the word out about what we're doing here. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments section, and please tune back in when we do a comparison of the eFlex versus the Premier line. So again, for upgrades on the gloves, molded materials for more impact protection, better range of motion on the blocker and a new blocker option. Other than that, you're going to get the great CCM performance in the blocker and the traditional 580, 590, 600 options on the glove.